teapot I usually make, and hopefully I can do it. This is clay I'm not used to, but
This is a high fire, soft clay, correct?
it's not very soft.
Oh,
But it's yeah, it's high fire clay from here. Most of my work these days is porcelain. I like the way it flashes in the wood fire.
And you fire up, you do fire up steak, and you were
Yeah.
telling me. Yeah.
I fire up in Peekskill. I've had kilns for 30 some odd years with my friend Roger Bauman. We now have a sort of a hybrid. The first chamber is an onigama chamber that we don't glaze anything in, or predominantly don't glaze things. And then there's a large second chamber for glazed ware that also gets changes from the ash, but not as much ash. So this is a little over 3 pounds, basically 3 pounds. I wedged up 2 pieces because there's always a good chance that I could mess up the first one.
No, that won't happen.
It does happen.
Only when people are watching that.
Oh, it happens all the time.
So by the time you went to Japan, how long had you been making kilns and pots and all that stuff?
Let's see, how's my math? 25 years, something like that.
How long did you work here?
Did I work here at Kingsborough?
How long?
10 or 15 years. I mean, I worked at 2 different junctures. I worked in the 80s until the late 80s, I guess, and then I came back in the 90s and worked until 2000.
You know, I got my job because you left me.
She owes you.
I do.
This is a nice wheel.
Love that wheel. You have to take that one? Just that brand of wheel.
Those Japanese know how to make wheels.
Toyota.
So I'm going to belly this out a little bit now. Get the water out of the bottom.
So you're shaving from the inside and compression from the outside with the rib?
Yes. No rib.
That's a sponge.
This is just a sponge.
Oh,
And the sponge is in my hand. The sponge is not against the pot. I don't like to put the sponge against the pot.
Can I just point something out? All
Sure.
of you watching. No, you're fine. Notice when Jeff moves around, even though his switches his hands around, his arms are always balanced together. Nothing's flying around in the wind. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you want your arms braced as whenever you can. You don't want to be it's too hard to hold steady. Okay, so I need to a little fuller at the top. I'm gonna
And ladies and gentlemen, he's throwing with a bandaged index finger. I mean, really.
yeah, they
Just for a little challenge.
I mean, really.
wasn't smart. I
It's
sliced
an
my
asset.
finger open a couple days ago.
Those lines.
Yeah. How are you?
Okay, so I need to make the lid seat now.
How thick is the base?
How
Very
thick
bottom.
is the very bottom? You'll see in a minute when I trim the other one.
so if I was making a lid seat, I would just push into the clay, but you bend it around. don't you?
Yes. You can take the clay and sort of split it in half and push down on the other half.
Right.
I don't like to do that. I do it sometimes, but you kind of have to do that before you
Bring it.
really shaped the pot, because you're pushing down
Yes.
and the shoulder is
Right.
weak. So I like to make the pot first. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to collar it in to make sure it's wet. Keep collaring it in. And I'm going to grab a hold of it. And I'm going to just push it down.
Oh, wow. That's scary. That was scary.
That was,
And then, wow. David, that's a new one on me, huh?
Okay.
Wow.
So now I want to undercut it a little bit so I have an easy place to start to trim.
Okay.
And I need to measure for the lid. So I do this before I take the pot off, because if I touch it, I can fix it up then. Okay, that gives me the measurement on the inside. So I have that. I need to cut it. I forget, I don't throw on plastic bats anymore, so I throw on plaster bats so I don't have to cut under. So I almost forgot there. This is off, thank you. But I can't get another one, so I was a little afraid to bring it. I didn't want to break it.
Yes, for all of our lady students that don't like to take their fake nails off,
Oh,
we
right,
can now
just
start
keep
making
one.
tools.
Just the pinky.
They could sell their fake nails. Okay, this is,
so you're going to throw the lid off the hump.
yes. I throw some small bowls off the hump. I throw sake cups off the hump. And the teapot pieces off the hump, but that's it.
You can't throw those really big jugs. Those jugs, my God.
So, and I usually make more than one teapot at a time. And I always make more lids and parts than teapots, because they don't always work out.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you reiterating what our teacher told us.
Yeah, if you make a lidded jar, make at least two lids.
Yeah.
And if I make 6 teapots, I might make 9 lids. And I make them all the same size, so they're interchangeable. So I like fairly big knobs on my lids, but they can't be solid as big as I like them. So what I do
Throw it.
is I center the little piece. Oops, I let it go too fast. If people have questions while I'm throwing, don't be shy to ask, because I don't always explain everything. So I'm going to open this up, but I'm going to go all the way
He
down.
taught you? Oh.
So I'm going to go down past the bottom of what will be the lid.
Even a hole there.
So there's a hole there. So now I'm going to pull this up and throw this.
Is that gonna be a miniature teapot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put it. Oh, he's gonna make a hollow
Yeah.
handle.
You close
Yes,
it.
it pulls it up.
So, David, it's been passed down to another generation, right? It was passed up and then down.
Yes, but I'm a generation
Yes,
older
I
than
know.
he
He
is.
passed it up to you.
We call you sensei.
Yeah.
I'm going to collar this in. Gets a little thicker as I collar it in.
The knob.
Oh, that's the knob for the lid. And I'm going to close it in.
Ta-da.
So now that's hollow. Make it a little more delicate. And then I want to just get an idea how big it needs to be. So it's a teapot, so I don't want the lid to fall off easily, so I don't want a flat lid, because then the center of gravity is pretty high. I'd like the center of gravity to be low, so it, as you pour the tea, it's not so likely to fall off. You can make a little mechanical connection.
Yeah, tab like.
What's that?
Tab.
I remember they had a little tongue that catches the lid.
like it.
Yeah, sometimes some of them do that. I just make them so they sort of sit down in.
Oh, yeah.
So you don't have to hold the,
Yeah, but
The
what,
top when
he's
you
solving
pour it.
that problem. It's magic. Still seems like magic.
Now, if
After
I've
12
done
years,
these,
13 years.
I'm a little on the small side.
Unbelievable.
That's a little bit small.
These, this is your own design or based on an ancient design or?
The which?
The teapot?
What part of it?
Oh, the whole thing?
The whole thing is. Oh, the whole thing's my design.
Okay.
The lid seat. I learned from Ken Ferguson, guy that used to teach at Kansas City. He did a workshop at Parsons, and he was making a lidded jar, and that's good. All of a sudden, the lid seat was there, and I couldn't see what the
Do it
hell he
again,
did.
please, yeah.
And I said, Ken, you got to do that again. I have no idea what you did, but I've been doing them. So now I want to make a little line here. Now the Japanese do this in a way, I'm never good at it. They have, I brought one, but I'm not good at it. They have like you have wires like I have, like this.
They use string.
They use a string and only attached on one side.
Yes.
And they
You know what,
throw it.
grab
I
mine,
watched
I'll
it
try.
twice.
They usually do.
Yeah.
But they do this.
Right. And then they let go
the
and
other
pull
one
it.
out.
Yeah. Oh, all right.
That's it.
All right.
It's not
And then
hard.
they go like this, which always messes it up.
you made like a loop?
It's not,
Now
yes.
see, that has a hole in the bottom of it.
Yeah, see?
Ah.
That's what you want.
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
I wasn't paying attention.
No, that's okay, I wasn't thinking either. So, now I have that. Now I need to make a spout. And that lid will get trimmed inside the pot. Well, you'll see that in just a second.
Usually takes a week to make a teapot. Takes me at least a week.
Teapots are really good exercises.
I guess normally you wouldn't trim the lid until everything had set up.
Right.
Yeah.
Everything's got to be leather hard.
Will they use a stick to make the spout? A stick?
To a stick.
To make,
To make the spout?
I use my pin tool sometimes. It's off a little bit here, so I'm gonna just take off a little bit. Now, I like the spouts to be fairly small, fairly close to the pot, and a small opening. Oops.
Because they function better, or
I-
you just like the aesthetic?
I think they function better, and I think they look better, unless you're really trying to make a statement
Yeah.
that the spout is what you want to look at. I
Well,
think
these are called nipple spouts.
Mhm.
David, really?
Why do they call it that?
Would I be able to watch this next time you're here?
Yeah. I'll post it. I'll send everyone an email.
Great.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
clean that up a little bit
Mhm.
when it's drier. That'll be okay. Good enough for now. For this. There we go. Now this I want to take off down where it's solid. I don't want to. I want it to have a base, even though I'm going to cut it off. It'll.
So it keeps its shape?
Yes.
Or?
Yeah. It won't keep its shape. If I cut it off up here, when I pick it up, it's going to collapse.
When you pull that string, you're only using the part with the handle, and then
Yeah. And I'm not even really pulling. I'm just holding onto it, and
Yeah, just,
and then you're just letting it.
it goes around.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of like embedded in the.
that's the other thing. Tap center is magic.
It's not magic. It's
Well,
just.
I know, it's just.
It's a sense of timing.
Trying to steady it.
I get my left hand over here
Yeah, you feel
where it
that.
touches,
Right.
and how long it takes to get to the other side.
Right. Oh, so the other hand is. Plus, you think, of course, has to be round. It has
Yeah,
to be
well, I
centered
mean-
well, thrown well, yeah. Otherwise. Oh, sure. Thank you. You're welcome. When did you throw this?
I threw this probably 3 weeks ago
Okay, is Joyce still here?
for a demonstration.
3 weeks ago, Joyce, okay.
My mug will.
I did a demonstration and
Where
then I
do you
didn't
keep
trim
it?
them.
What do you have, a wet box, or do you just wrap it well?
It was
or
on a plaster bat wrapped up.
wrapped up?
I knew it was going to sit for at least a week at the beginning, so I wet the plaster bat and then put it on it and wrapped it up. And it's actually wetter than it should be. I'd like it a little drier than this to work on it.
Is there a way to control that amount of leather?
Yeah.
Yeah, just let it sit out longer. But, you know, it's very hard if you're,
What if it's too hard?
Oh,
Throw it out.
You're in trouble then.
Throw it out.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
dunk it.
I don't throw anything away.
If it's too dry, you just start again.
To learn to throw things
I get it.
Yep. Reclaim it, that's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't, I mean, you don't throw it out, you save the clay,
Reclaim it.
but.
Well, I don't mean, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just, I know,
Chuck it.
so he's not really.
Right. Recycle, reclaim.
We always. So Jeff, where else are you selling your work these days?
Anywhere you can find for me. It's very hard.
Do you have a studio sale?
I do have a house sale. Anybody, I
We
won't
would
have
like
one.
to all know about it.
Yeah.
I
Just
went
send us
last
info.
year, that's how, I'll just let you know the
Yeah.
next time.
Where,
It was
where
so-
You can all- you-
located?
I'm in the East Village.
Oh,
I'll have a show again probably early December in my house.
Can I ask you?
East Village, where?
St. Mark's Place? Between First and A. Oh, you know what I didn't do? Well, this will be a mix mash. I didn't bring any clay to make the handles.
Oh,
I have some porcelain. Is that Conton porcelain?
Yeah.
I can give you some.
No, that's wet.
Details.
so those little side spout handles, is that specifically a Tokonami handle?
Yeah.
I love those.
Oh, I love them too.
I love them so much. But you have to have left hand and right hand.
Yeah.
that's definitely. Can you imagine otherwise?
Like this and pour it.
Someone's
In Japan, do they ever make those, you know, like
those curved spouts, like we have in Western teapots.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yep.
Yeah.
Swan neck.
In Japan, they make everything. I mean, they make really traditional stuff. They make really wild new stuff. I mean, it's all over the place. The younger potters are experimenting with all kinds of things. It's a little on the heavy side.
How did you know how deep to?
Mostly by tapping it.
Yeah, that's the other YouTube video. They're tapping, they're listening. I go,
Yeah.
what do you hear?
I would
exactly?
probably trim a little more off this, but I'm not going to because I don't want to keep you guys here forever watching me. And sometimes I trim through the bottoms.
Oh,
You know, that's just part of the deal.
I do that.
Yeah.
I can do that already. So what? So I didn't put it in there. Yeah, I'm halfway there.
I mean, usually if I haven't lost a pot during the day, I'm not throwing very well.
Oh.
Yes, you used to say that. You used to say that if you don't lose a pot or two, you're not working on the edge.
Right.
Right.
And but I also know there are days when I just can't throw. I mean, I just
Oh, right.
even in Tokoname, where there was nothing else to do, there were once in a while a day where I'd go in and I'd spend an hour in the studio and I'd just go, okay, this is not happening today. If I find one that fits a little nicer.
Box full of lids.
That's a little nicer. But yeah, you should lose a few pots once in a while. Like I said, these are really too wet to.
Yeah.
A little on the wet side. I wrapped them up too well.
Is there a way to turn it and lock it in place?
Oh,
This?
The top, and when you make a lid, a little lock thing.
You can make a little notch in it and a little
yeah.
extension on the pot, and then you have to put it in and then turn it.
Yeah, that's how I remember my mother's pot.
I don't like that. It's got a little-
Like a little thing.
Yeah, you think you were very lucky.
And then, so that, I remember the word.
Can I ask a question about the firing procedure?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so the ash blazes the outside of the pot.
Uh-huh.
None of the ash goes on the inside.
A little bit, but not much.
Oh,
Let's do
wow.
that. How about that one? So, I maybe start about there.
This is just from experience.
Yeah, it just depends on how much of it I want to use.
He's done it before.
He's expert.
Oops, we need to unhook this.
Whoa.
So that looks about right. Normally I'd have a little better place to put this. So that's where I...
You need Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I just want to mark where I'm going to put that. Now you always have to remember, I mean, it sounds silly, but the bottom of the spout has to be at the highest point the water would ever be in the teapot. See beginners that put their spouts like here and the teapot fills up halfway and the water starts pouring out. Now I just put a number of small holes in.
To filter out the tube, the
The
loose
leaves,
tube.
Yeah.
To filter the
leaves.
loose tube.
Making a screen.
Oh.
Now, they drink those little ones with the handles on the sides from Tokoname. They drink sencha out of that, which is green tea, and it goes in as leaves. And they they just do not look handmade. They make these little screens. They take at least what I've seen, they take a pestle,
What's a pestle?
like a mortar and a pestle,
Oh,
and they take like a pair, like,
when he does that?
yes, he's carved a hole in it.
Instead of making these, that.
So he would make a big hole.
Right, and then patch it.
That's exactly the size of the screen.
I don't want any little bits of teeth to make up.
You don't want those leaves. Of course, if you use a tea bag,
Are you
you
gonna
can
use
avoid the
vinegar?
sulfate.
I don't, but I use slip, which we don't have any, but we'll pretend. We have a little bit here, different clay, but yeah, I need to mark this first. The vinegar trick, I think, must work. People do it, but I just use slip. And then I cover it up really well for a couple days. Usually I'd take a brush and stick it in the slip and brush it on here. A wood knife is what I'm looking for. Yeah, right there.
It's very meditative.
I'm watching it.
Do you find the Japanese, when they do little repetitive things like this, do they have a whole nother mindset? Like it's almost like
I think so. I used to, I mean, I enjoy making multiples of things. And I used to have people, there was a woman from here, I can't think of her name. Used to ask me, how do you make 24 bowls at a time? Don't you get bored out of your mind? And I find it very meditative.
But they have their ceremonies and their way of attention to such details.
Yes.
That's what I sort of...
Thinking of ceremonies, the guy I told you about in Shigaraki, Chiho. By the way, if you are interested, he has some very interesting websites. You can go to ceramic supply places, and I'd buy these big bundles of it and soak it in my tub, and then it would get soft again, and you could make the handles like on that big plate. But I couldn't get the wisteria here to do it.
I mean, it's a different variety of the wisteria.
It may be. It may be. I don't.
Because there's different cedars and everything.
Yeah.
Did you try steaming it or anything?
I didn't have to steam it. Not in Japan. I just put it in warm water. I don't know. It was totally different stuff. I gave up. I soaked it in my tub for a day here, and then just.
Maybe you could use kelp.
There you go. That was the other thing that was sad about the airport going in my town. It was a big nori farming place, so they had big seaweed farms out in front of the town, and they're all gone. But.
So this is all since when it changed? Since what was the last?
It's certainly in the last 15 years. It was being talked about when I was living there, but it hadn't happened.
The airport's called Narita, right? Narita?
No, Narita is the airport in Tokyo.
Oh.
This one, I can't think of the name of it. I flew into it the last time I was there. I mean, it was nice to fly right into town, but And some of the town people really like it because they've gotten more stores. And I think they have a movie theater now. But it's just, it used to be a sleepy little town that I loved.
Is this more than one handle you're doing now? So
Yeah, I'm
in
gonna,
case they don't
I'm just,
set up?
I'm making the lugs to hold the bamboo handle.
I see.
Otherwise, it is gonna
And the reason you have to stretch it like that is for strength?
To stretch it. You know, same way you make like a handle for a
You
mug.
couldn't just go like this with it.
It wouldn't look the same.
No.
I could, if I wanted it round, sure I could do that.
Okay.
So what shape did you make it instead of round? Because from here it looks round.
No, it's pulled,
Oh.
flattened.
They're